right. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Today we are talking, or tonight we are talking about finances, good old money, uh, to hopefully help some folks plan and make a budget and try to, I don't know, make their retirement as comfortable as possible on whatever budget they have. And bear in mind, we said this last week, but we're not financial experts. Hola, Johnny. We're not financial experts by any means. We're just kind of giving an example of our experience and what we've kind of been doing, and some of the lessons that we've learned. We know there's people out there that have way more experience being retired than we do. And you probably have way more money than we do too, but that's besides the point. Just if you're just regular Joe schmoes like we are, and you want to kind of figure out a budget, especially if you're going to be retiring and moving to a new place, you may this will kind of help no matter whether it's within the country you're in or in a new country, maybe another state. Um, a lot of these tips go hand in hand with anywhere.
And you can apply it to your everyday
Yeah,
life.
yeah. You can apply it to everyday life. If you got a problem keeping track of money, maybe that helps. Um, and I'm sorry, Johnny, can you hear us? I didn't even ask. I'm sorry. I want to make sure our sound is okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Gracias. All right. So to start, you have to determine your budget. So what does that mean? Everything, obviously. You got to figure out what your budget's going to be. So, of course, with that, LaShawn, would you like to kick it off and talk about how you would start determining your budget?
Depending on where you are, if you're thinking about moving abroad, you want to know what the cost of living is in that country. If you're thinking about staying stateside, you want to know where you want to move and how much you want to, what budget you want to create. And with that, determining your budget, you want to look at how much you're going to pay for rent, your utilities, groceries, transportation, all of that. And we created a chart just to give an example so you can see where your money is going, like the percentage of money you're spending out every month.
Right. So, get right into it. I had a little handy dandy pie chart. Uh, Sorry if some of the numbers are a little faint, but this example is, let's just say you're a person, want to keep it as simple as possible. So we made a $2,000 budget, easy round number to deal with. Um, Wherever you're going to be, this chart can just kind of give you an example, give you a visual, because a lot of people are really visual. Like you can tell them numbers, you can tell them this, you can tell them that, but when they see it, it's there's more of an impact. Um, so first on our chart, when it comes to cost of living, you want to look at rent or however you're going to pay for wherever you're living.
Whether it's rent or mortgage, and this doesn't necessarily apply to someone who won't have to pay. If they
Right.
decide to purchase a house right out with cash,
Right.
they won't have to worry about paying a mortgage or rent.
Right.
So when this is for someone who's going to be paying rent.
Right.
Okay.
And so, like for our example, this like someone who's doing something like we did, we had to come and pay rent. So
I
that's
mean,
just
we
chose to come and pay rent. So
okay. So with that being said, you want to with your rent, what is the most your max amount that you would pay rent? Like if you say I'm not gonna go over $1,000, so that $1,000 is your max. Anything below that, it can fluctuate.
yeah,
If you want to pay 500, if you want to pay 700, you can choose that and put that in as your budget for your rent.
right. And know that when it comes to rent, you obviously want to do some research before you get to wherever you're going to help determine that. So, like entertainment, utilities, transportation, which things are going to take up the most of your money
Right.
pie?
Anything that you're going to be having expense for, you want to put it on your in your budget
Right.
because it is an expense. Like we said, transportation. Now, let's say we don't have a car, but we do use taxis and we ride the bus. So that is an expense for our transportation. If you move to another state or you move abroad and you decide to buy a car, you still have an expense. That's going to be your gas weekly, or you may have an unexpected expense,
Yeah, just
some
maintenance.
tires,
Yeah, regular maintenance.
So, but gas will be considered as a expense,
Yeah, for
whether it's
transportation.
weekly or you pay, you buy monthly.
Right. How much healthcare, and healthcare isn't on this pie chart, but because that's something that's going to vary from person to person. I'm sorry. But it's going to vary. So your healthcare determine how much healthcare you think you're going to need. So like for us here in Ecuador, healthcare isn't expensive. You could honestly go without insurance. Now you're going to have out-of-pocket costs that may vary from month to month or every few months, or you can have a regular cost if you have health insurance, whether it be the government health insurance or private health insurance. So you're going to have to add that in. But that being said, it's really not that expensive here. Now we understand in some places that's totally different. What was groceries? Oh, okay. So you got to find out how much you're going to be willing to spend on food. Figure out how much you spend on food now already in your everyday life. And I'm going to take this chart down real quick. Figure out how much you spend right now in your everyday life and see what you actually buy that's unnecessary. This is just like a tip. Because we've gotten to the point now where our shopping cart it has so much of just like essentials in it. It's kind of crazy when we look at other people's shopping carts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we've narrowed down, like we didn't really eat a lot of junk food to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So like that was easy. But when we look at our cart, it's like vegetables, meat, eggs, sometimes milk, just regular stuff, and like maybe some granola or something. And
yeah, it's not a lot of inner aisle.
yeah,
Yeah, it's mostly the outer aisles
yeah,
of the grocery store that we get our stuff from. Now, when you see us having a cart full, it's usually when we're doing our replenish. We replenish our household supplies. We're getting things we hadn't gotten last month, but we need this month.
Yeah, just stuff that we ran out of, and yeah. So to take a look, so this is like a cross section or a section of like our recent trip to the grocery store. So it's not the entire thing, but it's just an example of some of the items that we bought, and the H next to it means it's like a higher priced purchase, which it doesn't come every couple of weeks or anything like that. When we go to the store, it's usually like maybe once in a month.
Yeah.
So if you subtract those things, that actual total is $34.85. Now, those things, so like the water, the GUI, it says GUIT, GUIT,
that's just the mineral water.
It's a mineral water, and it was 12 of them.
Yeah. And so the 12 waters came to $4.02.
Right.
Now, like I buy red apples. I think about 6 to 7 red apples comes to 99 cents. Below you see green apples. Steve loves green apples.
Yeah.
And I get those for him, and they are a little bit more expensive than mine because I don't know why.
Yeah, the Granny Smith apples are more expensive here.
Yeah. But if you see where it says Lechuga crispa, that's the lettuce. It's like butter lettuce that they sell here. In the States, butter lettuce, a small head, would cost $3.99. Whereas a head that has two in it in a bag is 52 cents.
Yeah.
So I love the lettuce they have here, especially the butter lettuce. I don't eat romaine. They don't have iceberg lettuce, not that I've seen, but a variety of different green leaf and butter lettuce, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So when you look at the list of things that we bought, like I said, we don't really buy a lot of junk at all, and it's just the essentials. So we've pretty much narrowed down our grocery shopping. Once a month, we're going to spend a decent amount of money, and then in between, it's going to be just kind of replenishing a few things. We usually get like 30 eggs at a time, most of the time. If I get them from the Mercado, it's actually even cheaper. It's like $3.75, $3.50 for 30 eggs. So there are cost-effective ways to save even more money. Sometimes we just do it because it's just convenient to do it at the grocery store. And what I forgot to mention is that this list is from Supermaxi, which is one of the more expensive places to shop anyway. So yeah, like these prices aren't necessarily indicative of everywhere in the country.
Johnny, I see you said you bought 2 avocados for $5 the other day. Wow.
What are the size of coconuts? Good gracious.
I bought 3 avocados for 82 cents.
And that was at the grocery store. Not even the guy on the truck.
Now, if you get the guy on the truck, you can get anywhere between 6 or 7 avocados for $1.
Yeah. So, yeah, of course, your grocery budget, depending on how you eat, you may have to start cutting back if you're a big eater, medium-sized, yeah. You better start cutting back if you're a big eater, if you plan on going somewhere and living on a budget. Next, when it comes to determining that budget, is entertainment, or what are you willing to spend? So we're talking about groceries. What are you willing to spend on your quote-unquote entertainment, which can be different for different people. Mm-hmm. Entertainment could just be going out to eat for some people. Like for us, a lot of times that is entertainment. But
you also want to think about your communication. So phone calls, cell phone. Are you going to get a package? Are you going to use prepaid? Are you going to, and internet. That's part of, having internet and cell phone package.
Yeah.
Or a cell phone plan.
Yeah, depending on where you're going, cell phone plans. If you're going to be in the States, you know how much cell phone plan is already. Here, they're pretty inexpensive. We pay a total like $22 for 2 phones. So, internet varies depending on your speed you want and where you are. But look for anywhere between like $20 and $45 typically.
Johnny said she spent $500 yesterday, but it include pet food. They don't eat extravagantly.
Good. 500, man. That's Costco shopping. But yeah, your communication, then your utilities. So obviously you got to figure out wherever you're going, how much the utilities are going to cost you. Because if you're going to be renting a place, are those utilities included? Are they not? What are you going to have to pay out of pocket? What kind of place are you living in? Is it a place where like you're paying one utility on your own and the other one goes to like maybe the condo you live in? Whatever. You got to figure that out. Add that to the budget. And also think about where you're going and how much of that stuff you're going to need to use at any given time. What I mean by that is if you're somewhere you're going to go somewhere cold and you know you're going to need electricity for heat for like half the year, you got to think about that because you might be doing research during a time of year where that's not necessary. So like, oh, the electricity bill is only $20. Oh, no problem. But then when you get there in the winter, you're paying $120. So like think about those things. One of the reasons we chose where we are is just because the weather is just kind of so the same most of the year. We knew that if there was a big fluctuation in utility bills, it wouldn't be that serious. It wouldn't be that huge. But that is definitely something you got to think about, your utility bills.
And if you're not going and moving internationally, you're moving stateside, you know that a lot of the utilities are not included in the rent or where you're staying. So you definitely want to know how much electricity, water, gas, because everything is separate when you're relocating in the States. You don't now some apartment condos or apartment complexes do include internet service. You may not have to worry about that cost, but gas and sometimes water is included.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of that to include it in your budget if you're going to be moving stateside.
Yeah, and if you're moving to another country and someone tells you that something's included, you better make sure because it could be included up to a certain point. You can't just run the air conditioner all you want. What was the next one? Oh, downsizing. Okay, so one thing you're gonna have to do. I'm sorry, cutting costs. All right. One thing that you have to do, and that we had to do moving here, was cutting costs. So, were we willing to stop buying? I know for me, hold on. For me, it was some of the foods. And let me back up. I go to the gym a lot, so I would always buy like pre-workout in the States, and that stuff was like $40 a jar, and it will last about a month. I had to give that up because it's like $40 that I didn't really need to spend, and I wasn't working, so it's not like I could just easily replenish that $40. So that's one thing I had to give up. Other thing was like certain foods that were just kind of like extra stuff because we had disposable income in the States, so we just kind of buy whatever we want, and I had to kind of give some of that stuff up. LaShawn, what were some of the sacrifices you had to make?
I didn't really have any sacrifices.
You couldn't buy any. You weren't buying any more purses.
I had been stopped buying purses. I mean, like.
You see my face.
Honestly, let me say this. He bought way more stuff than I did. And I didn't have a routine of buying something every week. So
I didn't have a routine of buying stuff every week.
You would get
once a month.
Okay. No, pre-workout was not once a month.
There was 30 scoops and it only went once a day.
Okay, we're not going to go into that. But I didn't have something on a regular that I bought.
Yeah. So,
I had already started cutting costs way, I would say, back in maybe 2014, 2015. I didn't really need anything. I started realizing that I didn't want to waste money on buying shoes, purses, those things, because I had too many of it. I had purses in my closet that still had tags on them.
Yeah.
I had clothes that still had tags on them. Shoes that I hadn't even worn. So I realized at that point I didn't need to. So
you're saying you didn't have to downsize. This is what you're saying.
I'm saying I did downsize, but I had already started cutting costs.
Yeah. We both kind of did. I think.
No.
Yes.
No. No. You don't know what cutting cost is. You walk in the store like, oh, I want that.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, we're going to go over
Yes.
here and look at something that's not.
That being said, I was able to just give up a lot of things, knowing that we were coming here on a fixed income, knowing that I didn't have access to a lot of the things I would have bought anyway. So I didn't really have a choice but to give up certain things. You will have to make sacrifices if you decide you're going to retire early, and especially if you're going to leave the country and live on like a fixed kind of income. You definitely want to figure out the things that are just extra in your life. And like when we moved and we were selling all the stuff in our house and we were selling our house, well, we really did realize that even though we hadn't been in the habit of buying a lot of stuff, we had accumulated a lot of stuff. And all the stuff we accumulated, like a lot of it was just kind of going to waste. We weren't really using it. And kind of just realizing that this stuff is just really just extra at this point.
So if you have like extracurricular activities, that's a hard word for me. Say it again. Extracurricular activities. That's something you may want to reevaluate, especially if you move stateside. It may cost more. They may not offer it. If you move abroad, are you going to still try to maintain that same lifestyle, having all these activities? Do you really need all those activities? Maybe you want to reconsider and narrow it down to a few or a couple.
The things that are the most important and most easily accessible, I would assume, if you're going to be moving into a new place, because those will cost you depending on what they are.
Oh, you mean when you're going abroad and you buy name brand items?
Well, that just like, I'm saying like extracurricular activities. So
okay.
Let's say you move abroad and, there is no pickleball, I don't know, gathering or whatever. So you want to start one. And now you got to try to keep up with that. And now you got to get some equipment. And, you know what I'm saying? Like it just starts building and building and building. So those are the kind of things you want to know ahead of time, and kind of things you want to determine if you're going to be able to give them up. Now with the name brand stuff, are you willing to give up the flashy kind of stuff that you maybe were doing in your life?
Or when you go into the grocery store, do you need Jif? Do you need name brand cereal? Do you need name brand cookies? Can you eat the brand that they offer in the location or the area that you're living in? Because you may have to. Yeah. And sometimes those things can be better because we've experienced that. These Salticas here, which are like Ritz crackers, way better.
Oh, they're so good.
Way better. And cost less.
Yeah.
Way less.
And they're not greasy either. They're so good.
No. And flakier. What Ritz used to be, they're so flaky. But anyway, you may want to just make sure, do I need these name brand items? Do I need these name brand shoes? And that's not just moving abroad. That's also if you're in the state. Do you need those Jordans?
No.
Do you need those?
You didn't need them before you retired.
Air Force Ones and all of that. And so, and plus, just think about how much you can save because you can only wear one pair of shoes at a time.
Yeah.
And do you need 20, 40? Now, granted, let me say, I was that person. I had a lot of shoes and I wore a lot of heels, and I liked my heels, but now I'm no more.
No mas.
So those are some of the things you may want to consider too. Yeah. Is cutting back.
Okay, that was cutting costs. So now we're talking about downsizing. Are you willing? What are you willing to give up when it comes to where you live and how you live? Because we left a decently sized house with a yard and all that, and we knew we were giving all that up. Some people aren't willing to give that up. So knowing that, you're going to have to find a place that has what you're looking for. if you need a yard, then it's going to narrow down like maybe some of your options. Are you willing to live in a smaller place? I know some people are really like, it's like bigger the better until for some reason they decide to go smaller. Do you need 4 bedrooms if it's just 2 of you? Probably not. We had to make that determination and say that, like, okay, we were only looking for a 2 bedroom. We ended up with 3, but we were looking for 2. Not because we needed, a bunch of bedrooms or anything, but just in case we had a guest, and that was really the reason. And we wanted, of course, we wanted an extra room. Yeah, just to have an extra room.
It's not just because of the guests.
And
we don't want to be sitting up on top of each other.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah.
Don't blame it on the guests.
Yeah, we weren't looking for a studio. Is my point. But like 2 or 3 bedrooms was fine for us. But we could definitely get by with 2, as long as we have our own little space.
Yes.
From time to time.
Because if not, someone would have to be outside.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be me. No. But yes, what are you willing to give up? What are you, when you're deciding to move to a different place, you may not have a washer and dryer.
Yeah.
You may not have hot water if you're moving internationally, or you may not have a driveway. You may not have a parking space where you had 2 parking spaces, and you may have 1 now. Yeah. So
you may have the perfect place, and it's on a dirt road. There's so many variables, especially coming to another country, that you really have to be open-minded about what you're willing to. I don't even want to say what you're willing to put up with, but like what you're willing to just give up when it comes to the comforts you had, most likely where you were coming from.
Yeah, some comforts you just can't. It's like, no, I can't do that one.
Yeah.
I have to pass up on that one. Now, also, when you're giving up these comforts, do you need a dishwasher, a microwave? Because I would never thought I would not have a microwave. Yeah. And I do just fine.
Yeah. And the thing is, we have one. We don't even use it. It's under a cabinet. We don't even use it.
And food never tastes so good.
Yeah. It was going back to old school, like heating it up in the oven or whatever, or on the stove, heating up our food. I honestly, until she just mentioned that, I don't even think about the fact that we don't use a microwave. It doesn't even cross my mind most of the time. Until I'm in the store and for whatever reason I'm looking at popcorn. And I'm like, oh yeah, we never use a microwave. So that's why we never buy like microwave popcorn. We just make it. And we have a popper.
Now, do you need a car?
It depends. You might, depending on where you live. If we live somewhere in the mountains, relatively far from civilization, we absolutely would need a car. Where we are now, we don't need a car, but we've definitely considered it. It's just been those days we're like, oh man, it'd be nice to have a car right now. But as a necessity, no, not where we are. Keep that in mind, though, wherever you're going, if you decide you're going to be leaving.
Or if you're going to move to another state.
Yeah.
Especially in the States, it seems like you definitely have to have a car.
For the most part. Unless you live in like a really big city and you only plan on staying, in the metro. Absolutely. Hello, Denica. Absolutely. So transportation, that goes back into transportation. Like how much it's going to cost you to do the things that you're trying to do.
Hi, William. From Manta.
Greetings. Where we at, sweetie?
So you will have an ideal. I don't know which one we are on.
Go back up.
Oh, take a trip to a place you plan to retire. If you do not live there currently,
yeah,
you want to know what all of that entails for your budget.
Right.
Because we're going to circle back around for your budget. Take a trip, because if you set a budget for yourself and you haven't gone to that country or gone to that state and don't know what the cost of living is or what rent costs, and you say, oh, I'm only going to live off of $1,000, and rent there costs $1,000.
Right.
The rest of your budget is shot.
Yeah.
Like, you have nothing left. So you're gonna have to consider, like, if you're living off $1,000, where can you live to include all of those things
Yeah.
that we talked about earlier: your rent, your utilities, um, internet service, phone service,
Transportation,
all of that.
everything. Um, you when you take a trip, you want to, if possible. I know it's not popular for everybody because we definitely didn't do it, but if possible, make more than one trip. And what I mean by that is do it during the different seasons of the year for that country. Like here in Ecuador, it's really just kind of like two seasons. But like if you come during the quote unquote summer, and you're like, okay, this is what I can expect for, I don't know, air conditioning. I mean, electricity, because I had to run AC quite a bit and this and that. Well, that number's going to be skewed if you happen to come back during the winter when you don't have to, you barely have to use it at all.
Now, you also have to talk about high season.
Yeah.
So high
Yeah.
season is in the summertime, and rent will go up, and it can sometimes double that,
Yeah.
or it can be triple that. Just depends on where you're staying. Um, Also, in low season, when he was talking about the winter time, your rent can go down. It can be half
Right.
of what you're
Right.
paying currently. Just depends on where you are.
Yeah. And it also depends on what kind of lease you sign. So we're just talking about if you're just coming out here to take a trip. So it's those numbers can be skewed if you take like a 2 week trip during the season because that rent that a person's going to charge is going to be pretty high unless you just get a great deal. On the flip side, you come during the off season, it's going to be really lower. The way it kind of works here is the longer the lease, the more stable of a price you get. You get a price somewhere towards the low end for the entire year. Also, you want to make sure that when you make a trip, that you learn as much about the country as possible because you may come and all the food is really cheap. And like, oh man, I could definitely live here. The food's incredibly cheap. But you're Airbnb in the place that you're staying, so you're not really sure how much rent is going to cost. So when you come back, you come to find out like rent is crazy, but the food's really cheap. You never know. Would you like to answer that question, sweetie? About your hair care?
Just curious about your hair care routine. What products are you using? I'm natural, but wear braids. Oh, um, I used Talia Wajid. I don't know if it's Wajid or Wahid. I used her natural hair cream, and I use her tight. I think it's like tight lock, to tighten my roots and everything. I wash my hair with tea tree shampoo just so I can get a good cleanse, and I don't retwist as often as I did before because it seems like my hair is thinning more as I get older, so I don't twist as much. But it's not is it just depends on how often you want to wash your hair. Sometimes you need to give it a good clarifying wash to remove stop to remove all the, if you have any buildup from putting oil, the cream, and the lock gel in your hair. So you definitely want to do a clarifying shampoo to get all the buildup out of it, and then put a moisturizer. You can use a mask to put moisture back in your hair and do a deep conditioning. So that's what I do.
The more
But
you know,
thank
I
you
gotta
for
do
asking.
the thing. The more you know.
Thank you for asking.
So yeah, we were talking about like taking a trip. Was there something else under there? I can't see it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What are we
Scroll
looking
back
at?
up. Okay. Um, take a trip before. Oh, so when you're taking a trip, see if you can drink the water where you're going. Just because somebody tells you can drink the water doesn't necessarily mean you can. We've never really had a problem with it because we never actually just drunk the water straight out, not on purpose. So that is definitely something you need to know if you're going to be outside the United States. And there's a few places in the United States you need to worry about that too. But definitely look into that because you may need a water filter system or you need to buy a jugs of water, whatever, like we do. That is something to definitely consider if you're going somewhere because you can be caught up in the whole like, oh, I'm going to retire, I'm going to go to this place, it's great, it's nice and cheap. And you're like, oh man, I can't drink the water, this is crazy. So all those little things kind of add up.
And also, you need to consider health care. Whether you live moving abroad or living stateside, you want to include health care into your budget because that can become expensive depending on because just know that if you have health care and you're going to the doctor now some places charge copays, some places don't charge copay, and then you may have at times if you're living abroad have to pay out of pocket, having an out of pocket expense because you can't see a doctor soon enough under the health care plan you have. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
In some places, as you said, vaccinations.
Yeah, you might need some shots depending on where you're going. Like you don't need vaccinations to come to Ecuador, but you definitely are recommended to get some shots. Like if you go to the Amazon. So just know that like certain places you go, you may need to get a few jabs here and there.
And don't when you're moving abroad, don't be afraid to go against the norm.
Yeah. So what do we mean by the norm?
So, for instance, when we first decided to move to Ecuador, we had planned on finding this little secluded little place with some land. So he had his chickens and ducks and
Fish.
llamas or whatever he wanted to have.
I don't know llamas.
And that didn't work out.
Well, yeah, it can work out.
It can, but we got to Salinas and it got settled because it had everything we needed, and the climate was absolutely perfect. So we're not ruling that out. We will still continue to scout Ecuador because there's a lot we want to see. And so we never know. We may pop up in another area and be like, oh, this is it.
And I have like a little farmer's hat and a little straw sticking out my mouth. So yeah, like don't be afraid to go against the norm. If the norm is for like, especially with expats, and this I'm just speaking kind of from the expat point of view. The norm is to go to a place where all the expats are, and to do the things all the expats do. Don't be afraid to like just be different. You know what I'm saying? Like don't think that, oh, I'm not going to be accepted by this group. So what? Like you don't have to be. We even though we're here in a place that has a fair number of expats, we don't try to be a part of any group. We just kind of like do stuff on our own as we always have. And, if we're accepted, we're accepted. If not, it's like we're not trying to be. And that's my point. We're not trying to be like everybody else. So don't be afraid to just kind of buck the trend a little bit and do your own thing and be happy in yourself and what you want to do.
Well, also, if you're going to different gatherings, dinner events, you got to include that in your budget.
Yeah.
This is back to talking about budget. Because if you are eating out or going to dinner events weekly, functions weekly, then you have to consider that into your budget because some of these places charge a cover charge.
Yeah.
Some you may have to give donations. So it
depends on what the gathering is and what. Yeah, it depends on what's going on. There's just so many different things going on, especially between like in the expat community. And even in the States, I'm sure there's like plenty of like community groups and stuff that get together a lot. Those are things you got to consider if you're not going to be working anymore, and especially if you're going to be moving away. That like, if that's something you want to do, just know that that's going to affect your budget. So just include it. Like, don't be surprised by it.
Yeah. And also, if you
Oops, sorry.
also when you're stateside, if you're thinking about retiring and doing an early retirement, you may have to forego some of those girls trips and guy trips, you know, and also maybe some of those strip clubs that you're hitting up 2 and 3 times a week, making it rain.
You're doing
Make
two or
it
three
rain.
times a week. You had a problem already.
Make it rain into your bank account and keep the money so you can retire early and not have to worry about anything in the end because you've done your due diligence
Yeah.
to save money so you can retire early.
Yeah, and if you're spending more than $1 a week on lotto tickets, stop wasting your money. Pro tip.
Hey, they may look up on that dollar.
Okay, may.
Now, also, if you're going to the casinos, because I've seen a lot of these, what is the bet?
Like bet MGM. Well, it's not even casino. Sometimes like you can do online. A lot of online betting.
Well, online is not
Yeah.
good. It's almost worse than going to the casino. You're at home now. You can log on and you can bet and give away.
Just save your money, y'all.
Give away money.
Save your. If you're gonna give it away, just put it in your account. Next was sticking to your budget. I think.
Yes.
Stick to your budget. Stick to your budget. Stick to your budget. She will kind of give me a little tap on the side of the head if I start talking about buying something or doing something. She's like, pop. It's not in the budget, Steve. Like, okay, all right.
I do not pop in my side.
And I really don't buy anything anyway. So, yeah, stick to your budget. And that goes back to what we were just saying about like, social events and doing things and trying to be out there and be active and not be bored. Let me just say this, the lifestyle that we live isn't for people that can't be bored. Because we're pretty boring. So if you have like the kind of lifestyle where you got to be out and doing stuff all the time, like make sure the place where you're going, is good with that, and that your budget's going to be good with that, because those things may not gel. The place that you might want to be might not have any of the things that you want to do, and vice versa.
Yeah, sticking to your budget would definitely be beneficial to you in the long run.
Yeah.
You'll look back and say, I'm so happy I cut this, or I downsized, or I changed, I don't know, I decided I didn't want streaming service anymore. I cut having Hulu and Disney out, and I've saved, even though it may be like $12 to $20, that's $12 to $20 you're saving every month.
Yeah.
So that adds up.
In a place like this, it goes a long way. I know it doesn't go that far in the States, maybe a little bit of gas, but like here, $20 kind of goes a long way. So saving it is kind of a big deal. All right. Beware of those entertainment experiences. We were just talking about this. You will get caught up if you let yourself. You will get caught up in just kind of spending money on things. It's kind of willy-nilly because you're in the moment and you're somewhere and you just maybe having a good time, and all of a sudden you've dropped $20, right? Where ordinarily if you were to go grab something to eat, I'm just talking about us. We might only spend $7 or $8. Well, now we're spending $25, and we're not really thinking about it. So then later on in the month, we're like, what did we spend this much money on? Well, we went, we were out with friends or whatever 2 or 3 times that month and spent like $80 that we normally wouldn't have spent. You really got to think about like your budget. If you have an entertainment budget, like maybe separate it. Put it in cash. Do whatever you got to do so that like you don't just kind of overdo your budget because of entertainment. Like you might be great on everything else, food, rent, all that.
And entertainment is like you're out, you're being social. You're probably tired of the boredom that you're experiencing, and it's cool. Let's just say you did it 1 month. If you don't do it the next month, you're good. It kind of balances. Or if you skip 2 or 3 months, it kind of balances out. So just watch your expenses.
Yeah. Especially, it's a place like where we live. it's so easy to spend a little money that you'll not realize that you're spending more money than you should. So that pretty much closes this out, dear. If you have questions, this video is going to be posted on our channel. You can come back and rewatch any section of it. But if you have questions, just leave a comment, and we will be sure to answer. We appreciate anyone that watched. Like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel.
Give a thumbs
Give us a
up.
thumbs up. You know, you can always go to our member section. I'm going to be putting some videos in our member section pretty soon. So we really appreciate all the support that we get. We really appreciate the viewers and subscribers. So thank you so much. And next week, we may be wrapping this up next week. Well, we'll see. But comfort zones and feeling accepted. So,
With that being said,
yeah,
when you're going somewhere, you know, you may be accepted, you may not. And are you going to be okay with that?
yeah. Are you going to be able to get out of your comfort zone if you need to? Or you're going to be able to kind of shell up and just mind your own business and not worry about it anyway? Everybody's different. But we're going to talk about like those comfort zones, kind of some of the things that we have done that were a little bit out of our comfort zone, you know? So
Well, everything was already out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
My comfort zone was kind of pushed to the limit when I moved abroad. So
yeah. But anyway, thank you, Johnny. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week, same time, same place, same channel. We'll check y'all out soon. I always get this backwards. Look.